I did something radically different. And I gained another 15, 20 pounds in that time frame of 2 to 3 months. And I'm going to show you exactly what I did to get there. So I'm Jay Horn, and I've been transforming drug-free bodies since 2007. And I am here to push a relentless drug-free crusade. And you'll come to find out why this is. I'll let you in on a little bit of my background since I was a kid. But look, bro, if you're skinny and you're trying to build muscle, you have to watch out for the clowns, okay? The druggy influencers that are pushing their programs, the clinics pushing TRT ads, preying on insecurities, fitness channels normalizing chemical dependency, and coaches selling optimization but living on syringes. Your problem is not laziness. It's a broken industry. Okay, you've been fed bad influences from people who inject their way to success. You need good influences, people who earn their gains and earn their health and this whole fitness lifestyle, people who earn it naturally. But why listen to me? So I've helped a lot of guys transform their body. This is body recomposition. This is what I do. So losing fat, gaining muscle, and we do it completely drug-free. And here is my personal journey, okay? And listen, guys, I'm genetically skinny. I'm an ectomorph. I have slightly larger frame in the shoulders, but I'm a hard gainer. I don't have muscle building genetics. Okay, I'm tall. I'm 6'2". I have praying mantis arms, praying mantis legs. Like, it is difficult. All right, this is why you see a lot of the top pros in bodybuilding. They're shorter guys. All right, so it's very difficult. If you're over 6 foot, you know how hard it is to pack on muscle or make it look like you have muscle. All right, so I'm well aware that people, they want to come for me on my physique. You're not lean enough. You're not big enough. Totally cool. Okay, guys? But this is where I started. And this is not a picture when I was 13 either. You see a lot of those transformations. Oh, 100 pound, difference. 100 pound gain when they're from like 12, 13, right? So I was fully grown before I started lifting weights. And this is my personal drug-free journey with this. Okay, so it's not the most spectacular thing you're going to see on the internet. I'm not the most shredded. I'm not the biggest. But this is my journey. Okay, and I'm proud of it. So this is 35 pounds that I've added. All right, and again, I'm 6'2". Okay, I have these praying mantis arms, these lanky arms. It is so difficult to make it look like a lift. It looks like I don't even lift, honestly, unless I'm actually lifting. So, and I think part of that too is the standard. We've been warped of what is normal, right? So to go through this journey real quick. So age 18, I was 170, right? And 19, I was doing concrete before I started training. Same thing, about 170. And age 21 here, nothing changed. And when I was 22, I started lifting weights. All right. And I don't have a photo for that, but that's pretty much how I looked. Okay. So skinny Vinny over here, guys. All right. And I became a trainer shortly after I started lifting. So I became a certified trainer because I'm like, this is cool. I love this. I'm not doing concrete. I'm inside. I'm helping people. And I just thought it was a great transition, right? So from 2007 to about 2010, so 22 to 25, I gained about 10 to 15 pounds. It was a slow crawl. I was doing everything wrong, guys. I didn't have anybody to teach me. So it's not like it is today, right? And I was doing high volume routines, and I was doing things wrong. It wasn't really the stimulus that the body needs to grow. So it was a very slow crawl for those 10 to 15 pounds from age 22 to age 25. And then at age 25, 2010, in about 2 to 3 months, I did something radically different. And I gained another 15, 20 pounds in that time frame of 2 to 3 months. And I'm going to show you exactly what I did to get there. And had I been doing that at the beginning, my results would have been much, much faster, right? Again, it was a very slow crawl for 3 years because I was doing things wrong. And then in 3 months, boom. I actually think it was a 9-week period that I literally exploded. All right, so it was crazy. I'm going to show you exactly what that was and what I did. But here, I just want to lay this out, guys. This is my journey. I know it's not like what you see online where it's like, wow, but I'm 6'2". I'm natty. I'm drug free. And this is where we're at. Okay. So 35 pounds. It is what it is. Y'all want to come for me for my physique? Cool. It's fine. I'm proud of what I've done. All right. So I know there's a lot of guys out there in my boat where it is currently, it was what for you guys, some of you guys, it's very hard. It's difficult to get the mass to grow. So I totally get it. And this is true, especially if you're tall and lanky, like I am, not even so much was like I am. So a little bit about me. I've written 4 fitness books. I've transformed hundreds of people. I've put a lot of clients in drug-tested physique shows. I've only done, I did NPC a couple times, but I realized that was a complete crap show because everybody was using something, wasn't fair. So I transitioned over to natural shows or organizations, INBA, OCB, had success there. We won multiple pro cards and team awards. I used to teach personal trainers at a college, really loved that, loved teaching. And I published now 3 papers in peer-reviewed journals. And additional fun fact, I co-founded an extreme metal band. I love me some metal. And then I created my own solo metal project. So that was super fun. I love to create music. I love to just create in general, right? That's just who I am. But before all of that, I grew up around the drug abuse and I saw the destruction, right, guys? So this is why I developed a strong anti-drug conviction when I was a boy. And I've always lived a drug-free lifestyle. I've never even drank. So when I was younger, I saw that addiction. My mom had an addiction, and I saw some things, and I completely remember, right? And I developed this steadfast conviction as a boy, and to this day, I remained this way. It's a super important philosophy, ideology for me, okay? And when I was 18, I learned about a movement called straight edge. And then this is a movement that promotes a drug-free lifestyle. No drinking, no smoking, no drugs. And the culture didn't convert me. It just defined what I believed already. So I connected with this ideology, and to this day, my conviction has never wavered, and it never will, right? So I am straight edge because I'm drug-free, not the other way around. So if you see the X's all over my body, this is what that represents. I identify with this movement. Now those values, my drug-free values, they carried over as a trainer. During my time, I quickly realized that, there was some shady things going on in the fitness world, and I figured out the truth. And guys, it wasn't about health, okay? I learned that the model for health, it's actually not healthy at all. And most of the fitness influencers and trainers that you see online and in the gyms, they are abusing steroids, peptides, and even TRT. And this is why they have abnormal physiques. Now, they wouldn't have those physiques if it wasn't for the drugs. People say they're working really hard. Well, we're all working hard. A lot of us are working hard, right? So it's become normalized and even idolized. There's a lot of naturals out there who idolize these guys, which is a really strange thing in my opinion. And what's worse is a lot of these people are drug dealers, guys, right? These drug addict coaches are pushing chemical dependence on everyone, and they frame it to fit their narrative, all under the disguise of health and fitness. It's really kind of crazy. And since I was directly impacted by drug abuse as a kid, I dedicated my career in personal training to promote a drug-free philosophy. And so back in 2015, I created the Forever Natural Fitness brand. And that was the team Forever Natural. We competed in the natural shows, and it was really a strong push in that ideology. And today, you know what? Nothing has gotten better with drug abuse in the drug addict fitness world. In fact, it's only gotten worse. And they've created this massive gap where many of us are fighting back on the drug abuse. You look in the comments and people are calling it out. And you know what? Keep going, guys. I'm here for it. Because it should be called out. Because it's not good. Because it is drug abuse. And, let's just call a spade, okay? And there has to be some kind of pushback. There has to be some kind of fight, right? And currently, it's all about TRT and peptide abuse. So we are bombarded with hormone replacement ads and narcissistic selfies from dudes hopped up on everything under the sun. And these clowns are trying to convince men that they need to use drugs to be men. That's crazy. But the reality is, guys, you don't need shots or pills to build muscle. All right, and you sure as hell don't get masculinity from it. In fact, the exact opposite. So test dependence doesn't make you more of a man because you're literally shutting down your body's ability to produce testosterone, that hormone that makes you a man, and you're replacing it with this outside source instead. So by definition, guys, being dependent on a drug isn't a masculine trait. That's not strength. That is dependence disguised as masculinity. You're not in control, the drug is. It's no different than a guy who can't function without their next drink. So my mission has always been to lead drug-free culture. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't use drugs. It's always been that way, always will be that way. And in fitness, that means building your body the healthy way. Naturally, right? Without chemicals. So I'm not here to push drugs and biohack your results like almost every other coach and influencer. Instead, I'm here to help you change the right way, the healthy way. So, guys, look, if you're a hard gainer like me, and you don't want to use drugs to build muscle, then you need to learn from the guys who were skinny and built drug-free muscle. Right? And there's a handful of channels on YouTube that are awesome. They're natural, drug-free guys showing you how to do this. And they have a lot of good stuff to say. I've watched a lot of content out there in the past couple of years. A lot of new guys coming in, and they've built a physique, and or they have clients, and they have great stuff to say. You have to learn from those guys, those channels. The dudes who are staying natty have built a physique and or have helped other guys to do the same thing, okay? That's who you need to listen to. You can't look up to these druggies out there on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, all right? You don't want to do it from the dudes that are using drugs to grow, period. It doesn't matter what it is. TRT, peptides, steroids, it is not applicable to you, all right? So if you're truly drug-free and you want to do this naturally, it is not applicable. A lot of these guys are selling their coaching programs, and a lot of these coaches have their doctors, right? They have their telehealth medicine doctors on standby or part of their team. They're just going to get you on TRT, guys. That's their MO. This is what coaches do. This is so popular and so commonplace now. Come on in. We're going to check your levels. Oh, you got low T, or it's not optimized, right? No, it's 650. Yeah, which is great, for natural, but it's not optimized. Let me connect you with my doctor. Let's get you optimized. It's a load of trash, guys. And the reason that you don't want to listen to these people and it's not applicable to you, right, is because building muscle naturally requires a different approach compared to those that are enhanced. That's just the reality. We are playing by different rules, right? The game it's different. It's not the same. It's a completely different game. There's some overlap, obviously, but you can't train like these guys unless you're a genetic outlier, right? I know there is people,
oh, well, I train like this and I'm natural.
Okay, cool, bro. Most of us cannot train like the enhanced being natural. You have your outliers, cool story, bro, but that's not the rest of us. That's not the majority of us, okay? So what do you do? And this is what I did, right? In a matter of 2 to 3 months, like I'd mentioned, like 9 weeks, I think that's what it was, I gained 15 to 20 pounds because I started doing things differently. All right, I was doing the high volume marathon workouts. It wasn't working, or it did, but it was a slow crawl. Remember, 10, 15 pounds in 3 years, and 6'2", okay, yeah, whatever, right? But then, of course, another 15, 20 pounds really made it look like, okay, well, he lifts, right? So the story goes, this is 2010, I was in a grocery store, and I saw the magazines, and I saw this article by Mike Menser, and the article, in big, bold letters, it said, intensity matters. And so, okay, I don't know who this guy was, right? So I sat down, and it's about 2 to 3 pages, and it talked about intensity of effort and how you need to take sets to momentary muscular failure. And I was super captivated by this article. I sat there for like 25 minutes. I read it like 3 times. It permeated my mind. And I was fascinated. It was something different. I didn't learn this in my certifications. No way, right? And I was so fascinated. Like I said, I was there for about 25 minutes, and I kept reading this article over and over. And so I went home and I started researching, and I went down this rabbit hole. And down the rabbit hole I went. And so I got a lot of books. I read a lot of material. In one of the books, I did one of the routines. It was in Heavy Duty 2. And it was a very abbreviated routine. And it was 1 set to failure, and the frequency was pushed out. But I tried it. I did it for like I said, 9, 10 weeks. And that is when I blew up. And I attribute this to 2 things. All right. Now, yes, it was, you can call it a novelty stimulus, but really it was 2 things that happened that I did in my training that made all the difference and what I was missing. 2 key components. Okay. 1, it was getting stronger. So progressive load, right? Each workout, I had to get stronger. I had to beat my previous records. And this wasn't in powerlifting repetition ranges. This was in bodybuilding repetition ranges. All right. So I had to get stronger. That was the goal anyway for each workout. And then the second goal was failure. Intensity So the second goal was I had to reach momentary muscular failure. I could not quit. I had to focus on getting stronger, and I had to go to failure. And it was only one set. That is it. I had one opportunity. And each time I got stronger, and I took it to failure. Each session, that's what happened. Really incredible, very powerful stuff. And I couldn't believe it. In fact, I had people ask me, like, are you taking something? I'm like, no. I'm just doing this new thing that I found. And I started training people like that. And I'll tell you something. The results with my clients drastically went up when I started tracking strength metrics and pushing them to failure. Now, fast forward to now, I don't do one set to failure. I don't train my clients like that. The two things that I kept, that I retained in my own training and in my clients is progressively loading, getting stronger, and intensity of effort. Very critical. But I'm not a Mike Mentzer fanboy. He was abusing drugs just like the rest of them. But he had some really good ideas. He had some good concepts. Preceding that, it was Arthur Jones who really paved the way with very intense routines, brevity, right, and progressive load. So those are the two things that are really important as a natural. But this is what I've come to learn. When you're natural and not taking the drugs, progressive load and intensity of effort are critical. Okay? Now, here is the Natty pyramid. So for the drug-free lifter, this is what needs to be focused on in order of importance. So here we have this hypertrophy pyramid. And I talked about this in my masterclass video. I will link it here, and you can go watch that if you didn't see that. And this is actually taken from my last paper that was just recently published. I'm waiting for it to drop so I can make a video on it. But basically, my masterclass is predicated on this paper. And the paper is progressive load, the forgotten principle behind muscle hypertrophy for natural bodybuilders. And so I make my case and I counter the high volume routines and the high volume research that is currently out there and accepted, right? So this is for the natural. This is very important. So this pyramid, this Natty hypertrophy pyramid, is aligned with the drug-free lifter. Okay, so in order of importance, so we have at the bottom, right, we have mechanical tension. And guys, this is the foundation. This is what we need. This is what makes the muscles grow, is mechanical tension. But the question is, how do we apply mechanical tension, right? That's the question. So this is how we do it in order of importance. And again, if you haven't watched the masterclass, go back and watch that. But at the bottom is progressive load, okay? And then we have intensity of effort. And then we tack on volume and frequency, and then we have secondary variables, okay? Exercise selection, tempo alterations, different things. Now, like I'd mentioned in the masterclass, progressive load and intensity of effort, they are symbiotic with each other, and they're critical for the natural trainee. Okay, so if you're drug-free and you're not taking anything, we had to focus on getting stronger in bodybuilding repetition ranges and then getting close to muscular failure. Okay, so we don't have to reach muscular failure. All right, and I actually advise for volume, I actually advise typically around 5 to 10 sets per muscle per week. All right, so you're not going to be able to go to failure on every set like this. So the harder you push, if you go to muscular failure, there's only so much you can do, right? Now, I think you can get, very close to limits with 5 to 10 here. And then frequency, this is dependent on your volume. So as I mentioned in the masterclass, which I got some hate for, there is an inverse relationship between volume and frequency. Okay, frequency, right? Now, there is one between intensity and volume, and Menser has talked about that in the past. And same with Arthur Jones. But there's also an inverse relationship with volume and frequency. So the higher up you go with volume, then you have to decrease your frequency. If you decrease your sets, right? If you go 3 to 5, say, per muscle group per week, you can go up with your frequency. So it's just like full body, right? 2 sets on Monday, 2 sets on Wednesday, 2 on Friday, right? Total of 6, right? So there's that inverse relationship. But nonetheless, it's really imperative that you focus, again, as a natty, right? That you focus on progressive load and intensity of effort, right? Focus on getting stronger in strict form, right? We don't want to get sloppy. It's not what we're looking for. So stay strict. These variables need to stay constant. And then get close to failure. You don't have to go to muscular failure. Again, I don't think that's needed. And that's where I think some of this kind of gets, lost in the sauce when it comes to the intensity aspect. We need to get close, but we don't have to reach muscular failure on every single set, guys. But the reality is, as a natty, this is what we're looking at, okay? This is how critical this is for growth, all right? Now, with volume, I know people will be like,
oh, well, I grow better with...
Okay, cool, you're an outlier. Some people grow best with 4 sets per muscle group per week. And it depends on the muscle group too, guys, right? Depends on the muscle group. Some people need 10 sets, maybe 11, maybe 12. You have to see your response. Everyone's a little bit different. But the things that have to be set in place before you just start adding volume and playing with your frequency, you have to get stronger. You have to focus on strength, guys. You have to. And then you have to get close to failure. Those two things are critical. They are both symbiotic. They play off each other. And then once you're in that arena, then we start tacking on volume and seeing how much your body can tolerate and still grow, right? Because remember, we have the stimulus, drops down, you decompensate, and then you're building back up, and that is recovery. You haven't grown yet, and you have overcompensation. So this overcompensation atop, above baseline, that's adaptation. So you're not going to adapt if your volume is too high and or your volume and frequency, right? So progressive load, intensity, those two things are critical for the natty. They were for me. And like I said, when I started training my clients like this, where they were getting stronger and they were being pushed to limits, I push my clients hard. I've been getting the results, right? So ever since I started doing this, this is why I have really good natty results. No drugs needed. So guys, if you're interested in how I do stuff and how I train my clients, how I train myself, I'm going to invite you to my school community. Okay, so you can jump in for free. It's no charge. You'll gain access to the community. You'll have a DIY aesthetic guide, shows you how we build that aesthetic frame, right? So shows you what to focus on really. And then I want to take you through my synergy tension model framework. This is how I apply progressive load and intensity. There's a certain way that I do it with myself and with my clients. And I want to show you exactly what we do, the framework, right? I don't train any differently. I don't tell you to do this and I do this secretly. This is what I do. This is how I train my clients. This is what I put them through. Okay, guys. So link is in the description. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Let's get these gains, all right? No drugs. We don't need that garbage at all. Let's get it.